Matt Kenseth gets his win here tonight. He punches his ticket into the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you, Kerry.
You're welcome. 32nd career win for Matt Kenseth, his 4th win here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Matt, I think if you talk to a lot of people, including in this room, it's good to see you back in victory lane.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Let's talk about how you got there.
It does. It feels good to be back here. I mean, not winning for as long as we could, and then Nate reminded me of that the other day. Just kidding, Nate. But really, honestly, it does. It wears on you a little bit. We had such a good 2013. We came a little short of the ultimate prize there, but we had such a great season. And last year, there were some races we had chances to win, and just things wouldn't line up for us. We just couldn't get it to happen. And tonight was kind of the opposite. So everything worked out. We had a good car in a short run, not so good on the last 40 or 50 laps of the run, and we had all them cautions and short runs at the end that really benefited us.
Take questions now for Matt, Coach Gibbs, and Jason. If you have a question, raise your hand. Let's start right here with Jenna.
Jennifer, AP, congratulations, Matt. I'm glad you're good again. Nate feels better.
Thank you.
What was your position? How were you feeling on that long cleanup? And you knew rain was coming, and how did you feel about the NASCAR's decision
to do the green white checkered? And to
park the cars.
Well, I think the track is so small. I think you kind of got to park them to get the track dry. I don't think you can really realistically put jet dryers out there, very many, and dry the track with cars running around there because they're around the whole racetrack. So I thought that was a good call. For me, I don't know. I think last year didn't end yellow, white, checkered or something. At the end of the day, especially if you end up winning, you want to finish all the laps. You don't really, you'd rather win on the racetrack, obviously, than win under yellow. So I think if it would have totally lost the racetrack and it would have downpoured, I'm sure they would have called it. But I thought overall it was a good decision.
As the leader, you weren't like,
I gotta be honest with you. At least 90% of the time or more, I'd be all about, man, call that thing because anything can go wrong. And I felt pretty good about where we were. The top, restarts so much better just off of 4, the way the banking is. And I felt like unless I really, really messed it up, I was going to be clear getting into 1. And our car was good enough, I felt like, to hold on for 2 laps. I felt like no matter who was behind me, that, like I said, unless I made a really bad mistake, that we were going to be able to hold on the way my car drove. So if my car was taken off real loose, I would have been for sure more worried about it.
Got a question here with Nate, and then we're going to go to Bob Pockris, and then we'll probably go to the press box. Go ahead, Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I have 2, actually. I have one for Matt, one for Joe. You've got a reputation, Matt, I think, for not always showing your hand until the end and taking care of your car and always kind of being there. You led the first 5 laps, but then you didn't lead again until like 150 to go. Were you biding your time a little bit, knowing that you would have the car to be there at the end, and it was kind of a wreck fest night that you were just going to make your way to the front, or did you just get shuffled back and it just worked out that you got to the front?
Yeah, we ran really hard all night. Really, after our last pit stop, I probably didn't run quite as hard. Because I figured that Jason wasn't wanting to pit again, and our car was getting really tight at the end of the run, so I was really trying to protect my front tires the best I could. But then when he said he thought there was rain coming, it might be shortened, I just pretty much forgot about that and ran as hard as I could. I couldn't get by Kyle. When I caught him, I could see his car had the look that I knew was really bad for me. His car was turning really good, and I was getting tighter as I got closer to him, so I wasn't going to pass him if he didn't need fuel. So thankfully it ran long enough. He did need fuel. And we got them short runs at the end because our car would really fire off quick. But like I said, after a little while, it would back up a little quicker than some of the better cars.
And then for Coach Joe, you talked last week about Eric Jones having the plan for him for Cup. Did he show you enough tonight that maybe he's ready for that?
Yeah, when you see a young guy like that, and he gets here 5 minutes before we put him in the car, I told him, I said, hey, you're not going to go unless you really feel good. You give me a thumbs up. And so when they got him all in there and got him set, because we didn't have a chance to do anything, and he went, I'm okay. And so we let him go. But to see somebody that young get thrown into that situation, he handled it very good, smooth on the radio. He was really good. And I think it was a real experience for him. And but I thought he handled all of that exceptionally well. And so, we know Eric, I think, has a very bright future. So I think it's going to be fun to work with him, in the future.
Let's go over here to the far left first, Kenny Bruce, then we'll go to Bob.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Jason, earlier this morning when we were talking, you made it sound like your worst fear was a race that started and then stopped and had rain and cleaned the track off again and had a bunch of stops and starts to it. That's exactly what happened out there, and yet here you sit. Was there something you just weren't telling us at that point, or?
Well, no. That was my biggest fear. I knew it would be difficult to, work on the car if it started and stopped, especially if we got, several different rainstorms and washed the rubber off the track. You kind of got to start over. We anticipated having enough adjustment in our car to start on a green racetrack, and then having enough adjustment for as the track rubbered up to be able to work on it throughout the night. So thankfully, once we did get going there in the later 2/3 part of the race, it did go green. I think we were able to make some good adjustments, thought ahead, and had what we needed to work on the car. I wish we'd had one more stop. I think we underestimated the track changing there at the end, the last 140 laps. But all in all, yeah, that was my biggest fear going in, and sure enough, it happened.
Let's go to Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. I also have two. Matt, this is your 4th win at this track. It's the most wins you have at any track. Do you consider this one of your best tracks?
I don't know.
Yes.
I really don't. I mean, it's funny how it works. Jason hates hearing this, but I always thought Texas was my best track, and for some reason, the last 2 years we ran terrible at Texas, right? And thought it was my best track. I've always thought Martinsville was my worst track, and I think Martinsville's been one of our best tracks the last 2.5 years. So I really don't know. I mean, a lot of it, is how you can get your car to drive and that type of thing. So I do enjoy this track. I've always enjoyed this type of racing, even though sometimes it's frustrating. You get caught up in a wreck, you have those things happen, but I enjoy it because it's just so fast, and it's a short track, and you get to do more racing, I guess, less dependent on aero and other things, and more racing.
And for Coach, is there any concern that about Denny's availability for Richmond next week?
If I had to guess, he said I could go tonight, but I felt like he was honest with me. He said, I'm not 100%. I can go. And he was willing to go to the first caution. But, you don't want somebody, an athlete like that, getting in a car like that. So as we talked it over, I just said, hey, look, let's don't do this. Let's put Eric in there. And, I think we made the right decision. Hopefully with that, we didn't aggravate anything else. And, so hopefully you get some treatment, and we'll be good to go next week.
Let's go to the press box. I think you need to put some swords up there, but let's go to the press box, and then we'll come back downtown here.
Jim Utter, Observer for Matt. You've won at least one race, I think, just about every year of your career, and then you had, but you've never really won a whole lot until you won. Then you had 7 in your first year at Gibbs. The weight of not winning after having won 7, did that seem particularly more difficult or than it had in the past when you had gone through a winless season?
Yes and no, I guess. I've never lost sight of how hard this is and how competitive it is and how many good teams and drivers and crew chiefs and crew members and all that stuff is out there. And I think every team, has, ups and downs. Last year overall, I felt like it was, we weren't certainly at our potential, I don't think, as not just us, but as a whole group, as an organization. And I feel like we've made big gains toward the end of the year. I feel like this year we've really been gaining on it, all of us. Carl's been good enough to win a couple weeks and just had terrible luck. I think all our cars could have ran in the top 5 at Martinsville. Fontana, we had a couple cars that could have won with the right things happening. So I really feel like we're gaining on it. Everybody's been working really, really hard on it. And, we got 2 wins, and it's April. Where last year we had 2 wins all year, so hopefully we can build on that, and we can get all the cars at Victory Lane a few more times before September.